Board to order 6 o'clock on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. I will note that all trustees are in attendance, and if you can, please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Someone like to move to approve tonight's agenda as presented?
I will gladly move to approve tonight's agenda as presented.
For support? I'll support. Motion by Israel, support by Marcy. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And carries 5-0. That brings us to item number 4 on tonight's agenda, public comment. Remember, this is not a question answer session, just an opportunity for you to voice your concerns or thoughts with the township board. There's a 3-minute time limit for individuals and a 5-minute for those speaking on behalf of a group. Public comment, first row. We'll start my left to right.
Yeah, I just came, Jim, sir. I just came because, John was going to do the presentation on the 5-year park plan.
Yeah.
So if you folks have any questions of some of our specific items, either Ken and I can.
Thank you for being
help you
here.
out.
All right, would you like to make a public comment, sir? All right, how about on
Mr. Waskins?
Yes, Dick Waskin, 6576 Heron Ridge Road. Commenting tonight on your agenda where the city of Saugatuck is asking you to participate in the repaving of Bridge Street. And as one of the board members of Heron Bay, I just want to express my support for this project and also my appreciation that the township is actually considering helping to pay for that redoing, because that road is basically non-functional, and Heron Bay is in the township, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Anyone else? Nope.
Okay. I thought we have maybe it's
Hi, this is Scott. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Hi. I'll try to make this really brief. I just noticed in the packet tonight that around page 163, 164, in that area, there's some information about future road projects, some budget information, and so on and so forth. The one thing I noticed, and I know this is really far out because they don't foresee the actual project happening until 2025 possibly, but it references moving information forward to the road commission about millings for Riverside Dugout, and it references project 4064 in the year 2021. And I just wanted to point out that that project is the one that called for a substantial amount of tree removal that ultimately was not approved. And so I think I would have the same reservations about that. Now, hopefully in the time between now and when things start to move, those can be addressed, but I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
No one else?
Okay. All right, well, there'll be another opportunity for public comment at the end of tonight's meeting. that brings us to item number 5 on tonight's agenda, the consent agenda. I trust that everyone has had a chance to review the consent agenda. Is there any? To pull anything from this, go ahead. I will make a motion.
No, I just, one correction, please. On, the minutes, on page 3 of 4 of the minutes, which will be page 3 of the packet. Just where it said, in the final part of the minutes, it says reports. And it says supervisor Bickford open the floor for reports. I'm doing here. So it was clerk Israel. So we can correct that.
Is there anything else that we need to pull from the consent agenda to discuss?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended by Clerk Israel's.
I'll move to accept, I'm sorry, I motion to approve the consent agenda with the addendum. Or the change.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I can do it. No presentations tonight. So that brings us to our full slate of new business. And we get to start out with some exciting discussion and information regarding the 5-year park plan. Daniel, want to kick off this discussion, please?
Sure. So in order to qualify for any DNR state grants, the township has to maintain an up-to-date 5-year park plan. We have a joint park plan with the city of Douglas, the city of Saugatuck, and the Saugatuck Public Schools. And so we established a steering committee. We've been working with our own parks commission to do the update to that plan, and also to facilitate that, we hired a consultant, Beers Design Group. And John from Beers Design Group is here today to go through the draft plan for you. And part of the reason we're doing this is because the requirement of adopting the updated plan is to have a 30-day public review period. So that public review period started on December 11th. It was noticed in the paper. The plan is for everyone's review, but it's also for your review. You'll have plenty of time within that 30 days to comment if you have specific comments, but John's here to kind of walk you through like the broad strokes of that plan and familiarize yourself before you really kind of give it a deep dive. So we have to turn it over to John.
Yeah,
Welcome,
awesome.
John.
Great introduction.
Oh, thank you.
You stole like half a presentation. So yeah, good evening, nice to meet you all. Appreciate your time here. My name is John. Here's the back of one landscape architect here. And we're located in Grand Rapids and Honolulu. So we do a lot of park projects, both master plans, implementation plans. Parks are kind of we enjoy working on them. And we've enjoyed working on this project as well. As being mentioned, there's a community master plan involving. The intent is to have one kind of cohesive document that describes the area as a whole, but also then that a little bit describing specifically so that's kind of how it's set up. The schedule, you know, we started working on this in July, I think, from July. And from then until now, we've been working on the public engagement reviews. And obviously, we are going to draft the plan. We've been out to all the park sites, been working on the community, and out. We've had a lot of meetings with the park commission and the community. We have a steering committee that we've met with a few times as well. Just gathering information, basically, and trying to put that all into the document. We're, as David mentioned, we're in the 30-day public review period right now, which is required by the DMO. And then our hope is that in January, all the communities will adopt the plan. And then February 1st, we can, or by February 1st, or we can submit the thing with DNR and, set. So, the benefit of doing this, as being mentioned, the main benefit is that it makes you eligible for NDNR recreational based grants. But it also gives you an opportunity to take stock of what you have and identify maybe what needs might be out there or what tweaks you'd like to make. Hear from the community, to kind of see what their opinion is or their perspective is. So it's a great opportunity to do all that. I'll mention the public input. So we did have a survey, an online survey. Hopefully you guys have seen that. And I think we had good response. We had 433 total responses, which I thought was pretty good. About 40% of those responses came from township residents. So that was good. And we had that available between August and October. August and October, so approximately a 3-month window for folks to get in there. And so that was like the main public engagement piece. We get a lot of good responses to that survey. We also had a public engagement meeting, open house at the library, and that went very well. We had good attendance. We estimated around 45 to 50 attendees, which is very good for meetings like that. And so we had stations set up. Both communities had stations set up, and we had some overall stations set up to get feedback as well on that. We have the 30-day review that was mentioned, and then there will be a public hearing before you adopt the plan. So those public hearing kind of let the community know this is kind of the last chance. We've met with each community's park board twice, and those are also public meetings as well. So there's opportunity there as well. And obviously, public as well. So we've had lots of opportunity for folks provide input and let the voice be heard. It's really important. So that's the main public engagement piece. As far as the report goes, the main section in there, DNR has certain requirements, certain things that have to be in there. But there's a community description section. And so that's where we describe all kind of like the natural features of the area and the existing demographics, population and age and economy and those kind of things. So we do an overall one, and then there's actually color tabs on the document. So you can quickly flip to your community if you just want to review that. But then there's also the overall section. There's an administrative structure section where it describes basically each community is set up, decision-making standpoint, description of boards and committees, volunteer groups, and things like that, that all kind of help contribute to development of parks and recreation. Then we have the recreation inventory. So that's what we do for a description of all the parks. We have a matrix that lists all the parks, all the different facilities, how many of this, how many of that. You guys have the accessibility rating, which is required by the DNR. So each park we look at and how accessible they are. And so they do the ranking. And describe the trails, natural features, which you have a lot here. So the waterfront, we talked about the harbor and marinas and all that kind of stuff. So kind of an overview of everything that's here. We described the public engagement piece, as I mentioned. Then there's a section that we compare or benchmark against the communities that are in the National Park and Recreation database. So we look at things like how many acres per 1,000 people you have. We look at how many facilities you have based on population. And then we look at like how many mini parks, how many community parks, because each one of those have a certain service radius that we like to look at to see geographically is everybody covered, it's all the parks located here and something that part of the interesting enough, this is the first time I've seen, but this community is like hugely over the requirements for park acreage because they have a lower population and a huge amount of acres of parks. Basically thanks to the natural areas that you have here. So we blow that out of the water, which is great. So the other sections that you probably want to look at are the goals section. And for this project, we have, well, I think it's 24 actually, and just kind of some overarching goals that apply to all the communities, the things that we want to achieve. And they're very broad, they're very, way up in the air. So the action plan, which is the last section, fits into that. And so that's just a description of all the things you'd like to do. And so we broke it down into different actions that all the community can do, and then we listed each community has a specific action. Townships most ambitious of all of them, which is great. But we encourage communities to list as much as they possibly can. We apply for grants to DNR. They like to see, or they require that they see that part is listed in the system. So a lot of times there's what we call pie in the sky ideas, like we want a community center, we have no idea how to do it. But put it in there because you never know when an opportunity might come up. And then there's also the specific projects that we want to tackle in the next few years. And those on the list with estimated costs, but they're going to be funded by grants, and sometimes we include a timeline, sometimes we include a timeline. So all of those things kind of go into making that plan a really interesting document with lots of ideas, a good description on the community, and then some really ambitious goals and objectives that you'd like to achieve. And then just because we're in there too doesn't mean you have to do them. Sometimes boards get a little nervous because of the last in there. If you don't have to do it, it's just something that you want to do. So kind of a quick rundown of everything that's in the plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Just have a comment. Thank you. No, I'm looking forward to reading it. I'll probably have questions after I read it. So I don't want to get fair. I don't want to get into something that might be fully answered. But if you want a question, I'm just curious if there's much in here relative to what's referred to as the airport property.
It is mentioned.
And is it included? Is it in the township? Where
so it's listed under the city parks.
Okay, it's in the township as you know.
Yes.
Just curious.
Okay, it is, and we do talk about collaboration with the township.
Sure. Oh no.
And then spread it on the corner. Maybe there.
If you've never hiked it,
That's one of the few I have.
it's the most stunning. It's the most stunningly gorgeous property in the township. You have to go back beyond the initial part.
It's more like the west side. Right?
It's like being in Wyatt or Colorado. Seriously. Thank you all to judge that.
Well, it's kind
Thank you.
of, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it is a draft, so we're still kind of we're still having some pictures and drafts. It's a pretty public review period. It's just for the public, but they can't do what's in it. But we're still allowed to make modifications and tweaks. I mean, pretty much right up until it's done. So don't feel like it's that's the only working. Likely revising the document right up. And if you get comments from the review, feel free to forward them to us. Start having those. And we don't get much, but so, we need to do that.
I really appreciate that. I think it's a very impressive document. We just received it today, so we are probably all anxious to read it. If you were to leave us tonight with any one thought, what would that be in terms of where we need to go? And what we need to support as a township board?
What do you mean? I mean, like one specific
Direction. I mean, like, what direction should we be moving forward? Or are we moving towards the right direction now? It sounds like we are, but
Yeah, I mean, I think expansion of what you have, you guys have got great parks, lots of opportunity there. I know you did some studies on the shoreline there. So you've got a lot of great water-based activities there. And then you have this broken trail park, which you have a lot of fun developed people there, a lot of natural. And But I think one of the biggest things is just keep that collaboration going with the best communities. We've got the millage, which is great, and we've got land, so we've got two solid things right there. The other communities don't have something else. Different opportunities there to.
We're something. Yeah, thank you for mentioning millage. I was gonna just remind everyone that 2 weeks ago, we started collecting funds within revenue for the parks. Well, for the first time ever, we're gonna have money. Right, Jim? So we've already collected a lot of it. Tax payments are pouring in. Keep it coming.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing that you can use the leverage for grant applications. Yeah, they require.
Right.
So it's usually the match. You know, to come up with. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Definitely change those grants.
The one comment I would have, I saw a show a year ago, and it was about the interstate highway system. And it talked about how the interstate in a lot of cities split the city apart.
Oh, yeah.
And when I thought about our area, the cities, Douglas, Saugatuck, are on one side of the highway, we're on the other, and the only crossing point is Old Allerton Road. So one of the things we talked about was a possibility of a bridge, you know, when you go north towards Holland. There's a bridge near 16th Street that crosses the pedestrian bridge across. So we thought about that because a lot of the growth will be in the township because that's where the land is. But people want to go into the city and they don't want to have to drive all the time. They could walk, ride their bikes and so forth. So that drove some of our thinking, you know, of how we can move forward. It's in the future, probably beyond the 5-year park plan.
That's a pretty impressive bridge there.
Yeah.
In Holland, it is. Yeah.
I definitely encourage you to look at the last, the last section of the action plan. There's the description of projects. List of things that.
I did spend some time with this today. Didn't read it, you know, cover to cover, but it is impressive and comprehensive and, you know, just incorporated a lot of things that you wouldn't think about, like, you know, that should be common sense, like are all the parks in one area of the township and, you know, the other, you know, have nothing. But, and I will echo what you said, that I did notice that our plans were a lot more detailed, a lot more thought out than maybe some of the other participants, and they did very well too, but I did notice that it seemed like there was a lot of detail in our project plans. So well done, guys. Do either of the commissioners have any more comments about this process or your, you know, how you experienced it, and how, what your reaction is to this document?
The biggest thing I think out of this experience is that unlike the last 5-year plan, the city of Saugatuck is participating with us. And that just presents some amazing opportunities to work together because, and we all agree that when people come to Saugatuck, they don't know when they're in the township or the city or Douglas, and they don't care.
Right.
So the other small development that goes along with that is I was contacted by Kelly Roach from the City of Saugatuck Park and Rec Plan. And they want to piggyback with us when we're working through the Discovery Center. We're creating some signage for River Bluff Park, including trail map and flora and fauna and the stuff that the Discovery Center does better than anybody else. And their thought is to develop the same signage in a similar vein, so it would be contiguous between the township and the city. And they're contacting Douglas also. So when people look at signage throughout the area, it would be coherent between the three communities.
Right, what we do reflects on them, what they do reflects on us.
Right.
Good point. Well, thank you. Your work. Here it is. questions or comments? I just like the edible. I think that was the first I had heard of that, you know, I was like,
I
oh.
think Fort Harbor had something like that.
I worked somewhere where we shared a board of directors and, I remember that.
The only place you could actually take stuff, but you had to ingest it.
Also be cool.
I think it's exciting.
No.
Forward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think we need to take any action on this. This is just a discussion. So we will continue onward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you for all your work.
Very good, John. That brings us to, oh, more engineer this, right? Roundabout design option.
Lindsay's on Zoom real quick. Oh, she is not. She's not. Okay, let's put the concept.
For joining us on that.
I don't think that we're gonna have Lindsay tonight, but I just had a meeting with Beatrice and the road commission and their engineers for this project, so I can kind of walk you through the design and kind of point in the direction of what we need to make a decision on tonight. So as you can see, we did get 3 options from Viridis in terms of landscaping, and what I'm going through right now, options are pretty much the center traffic circle. So the plan is the same for the approach road islands. So the proposal is to do kind of like a dune grass. It would be minimal maintenance. It would require minimal watering, so we may not even have to put an irrigation system. The road commission has offered to do conduits for electricity and irrigation, so we could put those conduits in and then think about irrigation at a later point in time, but the idea is to keep it as low maintenance as possible for the approach islands. So the longer skinny islands and then those 2 shorter islands. So it's kind of like a dune proposal. The options really come in when we're talking about that center traffic island. So in terms of hardscaping, we did get confirmation from the road commission that they will allow hardscaping in that center circle. They did go back to their drawing boards and their studies and they said that it would work. The first option is clearly the sculpture that the township recently purchased. And then we have 2 options for Saugatuck Township signage. The first is our logo, and then the second is kind of a metal sign with either our township, Saugatuck Township engraved or some sort of application over it. You can see that the bottom one covers the majority of that inner circle. It's about 22 feet. And then it gets less and less as you go up. So those are kind of at least in terms of hardscaping, the options that we want to consider. The other thing that we're going to want to consider is the material of that 22 foot diameter center circle. So Viridis gave us a few options. One option is for a tumbled granite paver, which I don't know if you've ever seen like the gray tumbled granite pavers. Are very nice. They have a lot of texture. The second option is a concrete aggregate. So kind of like that exposed stone, some texture to it. And then the last option is a tinted concrete. We did talk through all of these options with the road commission. There's some serious concerns about moving forward with the granite pavers because it is likely that that area will be plowed in the winter. And so that could damage the material. There's also some concerns with the aggregate, whether or not it's going to hold up, kind of similar reasons. And there really is 0 concerns with the tinted concrete. Another benefit of the tinted concrete is that is the only material option that would be covered by the grant that the road commission received for constructing the roundabout. So we wouldn't have to worry about that being part of the project. So just to kind of keep that in mind. Another kind of, not the end of the world, but kind of like a negative is that all the trees that you're seeing being proposed in the right of way by by Viridis, or it's not gonna be allowed by the road commission. I pushed them a little, Dana pushed them a little, he was at the meeting. Craig Atwood came back and was like, absolutely not, that is our policy, so they budgeted a lot of things. I think that this plan has a lot of compromises, but that's just not one of the things that they're willing to compromise. And then two, in that center circle, they're proposing kind of like this like natural dune grassy material, just because it's low maintenance. And we will be responsible for maintaining it. It's not a ton of area, so I don't see a problem in having Glenn help us out with that, but it is something to think about that, you know, it is going to be our responsibility. And the plans do all include a lighting plan. So we would run electrical to the center island to light up whatever option we choose. So I guess at that point, I'll kind of give you all the floor to ask questions or talk amongst yourself.
I just wanted to share with you, after I received these plans, I called Greg Janik this afternoon and, wanted his opinion, and he highly recommends that there be no hard surface in this roundabout period. He would rather see landscaping because for safety, and he used, for example, the sign, the Saugatuck sign over here, somebody just plowed through it. And he's afraid if you get some hard sculpture type thing that it's gonna be, especially with slippery roads, and they might just drive right through it, and he just recommends that we just do landscaping period. And the fire department.
So for option B with the logo, would that, would it, the words, you know, Saugatuck Township be like on both sides? You know, or like.
They
sort of
could
thing,
be,
if
but the
not-
logo would be backwards on the
Right.
other side.
So where would that face?
We would make that decision. Right now, they have it facing, like, as you're approaching east. So like if the city of Saugatuck is to your back,
Oh,
but that's just what their interpretation of the front of the road is. Like, we could tell them we want it.
like it's a fraction of the traffic.
Yeah, well, that's where we come in and we
I
say that actually, you know, what people consider to be like the approach is coming from like south to north or north to south. So we would make that determination and give that direction.
Okay, so similarly in option C, if you go to that, is that would be just on one side as well, or could it sort of keep going around the circle? Saugatuck Township, I mean, it is a roundabout.
Right now, it's being proposed, it's just one side. We could ask them about the two-sided.
I think it only works if it's two-sided.
Right.
Yeah,
I would
and
say-
on Blue Star, not
Right, I agree.
lines.
Okay.
Those are good points that came up, because about the logo being backwards or the sign down, yeah,
Right,
to me, that's problematic.
right, you want something that, you know, 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Can be viewed, right?
Like an option one.
Right.
No surprise, that's my point. And we've got support, as you know, significant financial contributions from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I feel like we'd be kind of altering or reneging on that intent if the sculpture was somewhere else versus right in the middle here. I mean, I applaud that they really working for option, including the sculpture that we voted to purchase with, as I said, help from the CVB. Contributions from Nick Capoletti on gallery. Stones throw from where the movie.
And I would add that the road commission is working with Consumers Energy for a lighting plan for the approach. So we don't know what that's gonna look like yet, but we know that it's coming.
Just, I know we have options here, but is there an option D where there's nothing hard in the middle? I mean, is anyone interested in the safety aspect of this, or is it just me as a fire board member, or?
I'm sorry, but I think the safety issue is misplaced and kind of overblown. Go to Carmel, Indiana. I mean,
I just
I
went to
know.
Carmel, Indiana. And what's that like? Well, there's over 300 roundabouts there, and I purposely, we got off and everything there. It's a roundabout from the exits on the highway. I was telling Daniel, you get off the highway and you're in a roundabout to get off the highway. It's awesome. So some of them are just hard surfaces, but there's tons of them with statues. I was just in Golden, Colorado, and I took pictures of the roundabouts. They're very little city. They had 6 roundabouts with horses and cowboys with whips in the center. It was beautiful. Anyway, I won't go into all that, but I did take about 200 pictures, and Sarasota was full of roundabouts with all kinds of statues in it, and it convinced me that it told a story at every intersection. And for me, this sort of tells the story because it's a memory. And I would opt for number 1, primarily for a lot of reasons, but because it's not interfering in what's going on. And that entrance is an entrance to Saugatuck, Douglas, and the township, in my mind. And so I think that to have the sculpture, which is primarily a gift, is a nice statement and people will remember it. And I will go on other places. We have our signs in other places, but anyway, that would be my preference. It's number 1. And I would also prefer the tinted concrete because of the management and upkeep of that and snow plowing. So I'm just gonna, I'll just put that out there after all the ones I looked at, and I know Chuck stop constantly, and I say, stop, I'm getting out of the car. He said, I can't stop anywhere. And I take all these pictures. There's tons of sculptures in roundabouts, so it does slow traffic. We know that it slows traffic. Yeah.
No, and you mentioned, I mean, I was a big advocate last time we talked. So I'd love to see Saugatuck Township, the words, but I think we can also creatively think about other ways to achieve that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
You know, there's a sign on Blue Star for, River Bluff, that brought to you by the Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
There's no other sign along Blue Star at either end. I think hopefully out of the intersection study, maybe we need to look into some signs at the end of Blue Star. So, I think that's important, but I think it's problematic here because the issues of which way does it go? Can it be on 4 sides, 1 side? And then it would detract from the statute if that's the way we proceed.
And will it be confusing?
Yes.
The visitors, like you said, I hadn't thought about the fact that it's the entrance to all.
Right.
So. Yeah, there might be a better place to put that. They're all very thoughtful. Yeah, and I'm, learned a lot and changed my thinking, about some of these things. But, just to be consistent, I know Stacy and I did vote against, this purchasing the sculpture. And I do, I'm fine with it, and it's okay. And, I do still have concerns that it's such a bold piece and it could be harsh in that environment with asphalt and cars and just its color. So wanted to say that out loud. But great. And that was well, it is visible. Yes.
And it'll be a memory.
It would become that's the history of many of these public art.
I agree.
We talked about the Calder in Grand Rapids.
I love it. Well,
It was hated for years, and now it's the city logo.
It was hated for
really-
years.
I know.
And the one at Herrick Library too.
Nobody in 4 years.
Sometimes I don't want to know.
Any other questions regarding the design?
I would add that, so there is a lighting plan. Morgan, there you go. So it's hard to see them. Oh yeah, we zoom in a little. You can kind of see that each plan integrates lighting, so it will be lit up at night. There will be lighting for the approach. And I think that there's a suggestion that maybe that center island can be reduced in size even more if safety is a concern, like to give even, if someone were to hop the curb, a little more space, but all that gray is a mountable apron. So all that can be mounted without any issues.
Large trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is a proposal for those chevron signs. Those actually were not part of the original design. I have no idea why. You kind of want the directional signs. So they will have to be relocated in the grassy area out of the mountable apron. But with this new design, we are going to be able to incorporate the chevron signs, which I think is good to have more signage and help people kind of navigate it before
And if
around.
they're in where the landscape is, that's a further deterrent. Don't
It's a-
drive through because there's
Yeah.
a big directional sign. Telling you,
Mhm.
helping you get maneuver.
Yeah, because with the original design, it was planned for like a truck to go right through the center. And then you couldn't place chevron signs,
Right.
but they rethought the design. They were able
Okay.
to widen it a little bit. They carved out that 22 feet. It meant, it passes all of their kind of truck tests. So, but that's just something else to point out.
No, thanks, because it also illustrates how good they've been working with us.
They've been very good.
Yeah, sometimes they take a position up front. That's it. They don't budge.
This is actually the first time Allegheny County has ever negotiated on a landscape plan for a project. So, yeah, so they thought we were a little out there for even asking, but they've been great partners to work with, and I think we've learned some stuff, they've learned some stuff. And I do think it's gonna be whatever option you choose, it's gonna be it's gonna be an improved project from what was originally proposed.
Are we, choosing tonight? Yes.
I would like to get final, because they're the road commission's finalizing their plan, so the sooner we can give them a clear direction, the better.
Anybody prepared to make a motion?
I think,
Okay. Go ahead then.
Okay, I'd like to move to proceed with option A, we've been calling it 1, and the following modifications as the final landscape design for the Blue Star Old Allegheny Roundabout, and have final design submitted to the Road Commission for review.
Motion by Helmut, is there support?
I'll support that, but, just for clarity, is the following modification mean the tinted concrete?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So, yeah.
So
Add that to the
should be
motion.
included in the
Right.
motion, right?
Also reference to the tinted.
That is the following modification, and it
Right.
references it, so yes.
Somebody you want that spelled out?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's tinted, what's the actual term, tinted what?
Tinted concrete, so
Just tinted.
it's gonna be concrete, but they're gonna add a
Right.
color to
Okay,
it.
I'm just,
But it's not gonna be a red, it's gonna, it's not gonna be like a downtown red, it's gonna be more like a natural tone or a gray.
Okay.
So just a little more interest, but it's gonna have a lot of durability.
no, that's fabulous. All right, I will revise my said motion. I would now like to move to proceed with option 1 or A, with the following modifications to include tinted concrete material as the final landscape design for Blue Star Old Allegheny Road Roundabout, and have final design submitted to the Road Commission for review.
And we're still supporting. Okay, so we have a motion by Helmut, support by Israel, is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries 3-2. All right. I don't do that. We don't do that very often. To navigate that little verbiage there. Okay. We are now moving on to the Wellfield agreement. And this, you talked about this last month. This has been underway for a while. Daniel, can you get us up to date on where we're at with that?
And there was a little negotiation, which is always good, but essentially North Shore is agreeing to sell us a parcel of land, which has been identified as a site for a future municipal well. It looks like we can install up to 3 municipal wells. and looks like they would be high yielding, quality water, so that's great. In exchange, North Shore is asking for a 7-year extension on their use of that property to stage soil. And they're also giving us a release from any potential reason for litigation that happened previously to this moment, which is something that we asked for.
Any questions or discussion on this agenda item? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve amendment to license and option agreement between Saugatuck Township and North Shores of Saugatuck LLC.
Motion by Marcy, is there support? Perfect. Israel's, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes.
Helmrich?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Motion carries. 5-0. Blue Star Trail interlocal and engineering review. Take it away.
So there's a few moving pieces to this agreement. But kind of general story, the Friends of the Blue Star have a larger vision for the Blue Star Trail. It's not just supposed to be for our community, but the idea is to create a continuous trail between the city of Holland and the city of South Haven. The portion for the city of Holland all the way up to Lake Town is done, and then even a portion in Saugatuck Township is done. And as you know, we're still working on the northern section in the city of Saugatuck and then Saugatuck Township. But now the Friends of the Blue Star Trail are interested in working with us and the city of Douglas to complete the southern section of the Blue Star Trail. So Wiley Road across the highway, all the way down to M89, which is the southern border of the township. This is a big project, like the north section, so this takes years to get done. So the idea is if we start now, feasibly, we could roll out construction spring 2026. So Friends of the Blue Star Trail have been talking to the township, I've been talking to Douglas. I've been keeping you kind of up to date with my memos that these conversations are going on. And we've gotten to a point where the city of Douglas would like to participate. The Friends of the Blue Star Trail are willing to pay for the phase 1 engineering costs. And we did put out a request to see if we could get any proposals. We received 2. We identified one as a very strong proposal from Prine and Newhoff. We know them well. That's their engineering firm. And they also have someone on staff named Scott Post. And Scott Post is somewhat famous in the state for his trail design. And he just happened to have some availability for us. So we received a proposal from Prine and Newhoff to do phase 1 engineering for the southern section of the Blue Star Trail, and an engineering cost not to exceed $49,000. Part of that is also application for grants. So there are 2 grants that we would qualify for that could pay for the majority of this construction cost. The one is the trust fund grant, and the other one is the MDOT TAP grant, the Transportation Alternative Program. And Prine and Newhoff think that we're competitive for both grants. So they're proposing to assist in the township and the city of Douglas in applying for those grants at a cost of $16,000, which would be shared 50-50 by the township and Douglas. So it would be $8,000 cost to us. The trust fund grant is this year. We'd apply by April 1st. So that would be a cost of $3,000 for us. The TAP grant is not going to be due until October. And so we would budget another $5,000 for next fiscal year in order to apply for that grant. So what's before you are 3 different agreements. One is an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Douglas, and that would be to enter into an engineering agreement to do the phase 1 engineering and to split the cost of the grant application. Second agreement is between the city of Douglas, Friends of the Blue Star Trail and Township. And this is an agreement saying that the Friends will cover the $49,000 engineering costs, and that the city of Douglas and Township would split the $16,000 cost of applying for grants. And then we have an engineering agreement from Prine and Newhoff. So what Prine and Newhoff is proposing is that this project is covered under an existing professional service agreement that we have with them. And I actually got you an updated version. I printed out everything. So the first 2 pages is the update. So this essentially says that the general conditions are referring to the master agreement that we have with them, that the scope of the project is per the proposal that's provided in your packet, and that the cost to us would be time and material not to exceed 65,000. So that's the 49,000 for engineering and then 16,000 for grant support. So a few moving parts there. So that's what's under consideration.
So the 65,000 for Prime includes the 8,000, our share of the, with Douglas paying, and then the rest of comes from the Friends of the Blue Star.
That is correct. Yeah, the Friends of the Blue Star.
49.
Yeah.
49.
And part of the reason for that, just to put it in perspective, the Friends of the Blue Star Trail paid only $39,000 for for phase 1 engineering for the north section of the trail, and C2AE did not charge us for grant support. I sometimes an engineering firm will do that to be competitive. We felt strongly that it was a great opportunity to go with Prine and Newhoff and work with Scott Post, because it is a long section of trail. And there's also going to be some tricky sections of the trail, especially like when we get to crossing the bridge. So we felt strongly that Prine would provide, has the experience and would provide the support for a real successful project. Friends of the Blue Star Trail were willing to pay that higher cost, as long as we were willing to split the cost of the grant application.
And since a good deal of the land where leading up on one side of the bridge is in the city, they're not participating at all in this.
The city of Saugatuck,
Yeah.
the city of
I'm in Saugatuck.
the city of Saugatuck is not participating because it starts at Wiley Road. So all
All right,
of it,
it's
yeah,
not connected.
yeah. So it's not connected.
It's the other.
It's yeah.
Okay.
So just be in terms of municipalities, it would just be
Right.
Township and
Right.
Douglas.
So it'd be like the two ends of it. We'd still have the middle section now.
Well, it is in place. It's just maybe not ideal.
Well, yeah, but there's no crossing.
Oh, so part of this
Like that's the
project.
traffic.
So part of this project would be trying to figure out how, and that's another sticking point. How do you get, so the idea is that the southern section of the trail would be on the east side of the road.
Right.
Whereas the trail right now is on the west side of the road. And so part of the project would be figuring out a safe transition from where the Blue Star Trail ends at Wiley on the west side of the road and how to cross Wiley. So that might involve maybe Douglas looking at a traffic light. That may involve Douglas looking at a roundabout. But that would be part of the project scope to figure out how to safely get riders from the west side to the east side. And the idea of moving people to the east side is because MDOT has already kind of anticipated us bringing a trail over the interstate bridge, and they have decommissioned the previous acceleration lane and are willing to allow us to use that as the trail. So it's a pretty big area. So that would allow us to get riders and pedestrians safely over the interstate bridge. But we have to transition them at some point to the east side of the road. And I think the idea right now is the safest place to do that is at Wiley. Maybe that's not, maybe it changes, but at this point, that's the kind of thinking. And then the trail would continue all the way down M89 to M89 on the east side of the road. That's a lot.
So do we have three proposed motions here, Daniel?
I think
Would
that,
that-
I think that you can do the intergovernmental agreement and then the agreement with, the Friends as one. I think that's how I wrote it.
Okay, the grant application kind of.
Mm-hmm. And then we would move to request Brian and Newhoff complete as a separate motion.
Okay.
Anything else on this? Any other questions or? Anyone like to make a motion?
I will go ahead. You want me should they be done separately? Okay. I'll move to approve the interlocal agreement to retain engineering services with the city of Douglas and the agreement for payment of certain engineering services with the Friends of the Blue Star Trail and the city of Douglas.
For support?
I'll support. That's the support.
Motion by Marcy, support by Aldrich for the discussion. Okay, I will call the roll. Marcy? Yes. Aldrich? Yes. Bickford? Yes. Israel?
Yes.
Comrade?
Yes.
Okay, 5-0. There's someone that would like to make a second motion regarding this item.
I'll go ahead.
Lost track of what's.
Request Brian and Newhoff complete phase 1 engineering services for the Wiley Road, the M89 section of the Blue Star Trail at a not to exceed cost of $49,000 and provide task and trust fund grant support under existing general service agreement.
I'll support. Thank you.
Motion by March, support by Comrade. I will call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Comrade?
Yes.
Aldrich? Yes. Bickford? Yes. Israel?
Yes.
Okay. Bridge Street agreement, what, page number 10?
96.
Numbers and pocket numbers. Right. Oh, it's a Bridge Street agreement, the one that was.
You want to go back?
Yeah.
You're almost there. You're close. Almost there. Just the time was very long.
Okay,
Hey,
can you please, lead us through this?
yeah, some board members might be more familiar with this than me, because I think it's been going on for a while. But if anybody knows Bridge Street is on the east side of the road. Almost directly across from Lake Street, where you go into the city of Saugatuck. There's a stretch of Bridge Street, which is called Bridge Street, that's all in the city of Saugatuck. For a long time, there were 4 homes, and now there are 2. And it is also the approach for Heron Bay, which is a residential development that is fully located in the city of Saugatuck. And the challenge, what, oh, sorry. Did I say something?
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's fully located in Saugatuck Township, which is caused some challenges because, there may not be, a feeling that from the city that repaving that road is a priority because it doesn't really serve any city residents other than, it doesn't serve any city residents, only township residents. But it has created a not ideal situation for residents in Heron Bay. So I've been kind of following some of the back and forth between residents in Heron Bay and the city of Saugatuck. I was recently, or I guess not recently, a few months ago, approached by Scott Herbert, who is the head of the DPW in Saugatuck. And we kind of sat down and talked through it and came up with this proposal where the city of Saugatuck had been proposing to repave Bridge Street in 2027, which is many years out, and the condition of the road currently is failing, according to the PASER rating. So we discussed if the city of Saugatuck could prioritize the repaving of the road and make it happen in spring 2024, the township might be interested in contributing financially to the repaving of that road. We drafted that agreement here. We think it's pretty straightforward. It does specify that this is a very unique situation, that there aren't many other roads that, really just service another community. So I talked a lot about this with our attorney because we don't want to necessarily set a precedent, but I feel like we try to be as clear as possible in the agreement that this is a unique situation, but it does impact the well-being of township residents. And I think that we've heard very clearly from them that they have concerns about safety on that road. So this proposes that the city take a lead in doing the construction project. It's their project. They've already actually got a bid for it, and they'll prioritize it for spring 2024 if the township contributes 30% of the cost of that project. And total project cost is estimated at about $100,000, so it'd be $30,000 to the township.
Thank you for participating in the negotiations, Daniel, and coming up with a fair plan that will hopefully alleviate. Any questions?
I just have one comment. I think that, when say you were riding in an ambulance and you needed to get down Bridge Street, it's kind of scary.
Or getting out.
It would be, and so, I just think whatever we can do to resolve this issue, I really appreciate that we're looking at it and going to do something. I hope so. And fire trucks too, they need that too. I don't know how much land is left on that street to build on.
There's still more new construction going on. This also connects to Bradley Road.
I don't know if it does. I think
I
it
just
only
drove
goes
it.
there.
Maybe there's something I didn't see, but I checked it all out.
And what?
I did not think it was connecting to Brad.
I don't think it does. I think it just goes down into Huron
We
Bay.
turn there to get on Brad.
There's an upper part of Huron Bay and a lower.
Right, so this is the lower.
It's just the lower.
Yeah, there's flooding issues on the up. That's what I was talking about earlier. Right. Just
It's just a lower.
This is just the lower
it's
section.
kind of isn't that an unpaved road? Oh, that's the point.
Oh, no.
Well, it wasn't, it would, it's
It
take,
was paid to find out.
but it is.
No, I've been down there, but I thought this is what the complaints I've heard from people that were upper.
Oh.
But they have, a lot of them have access to lower to get to docks.
Right. Oh.
I understand.
Well, that's a good point.
Well, this construction of lower side too.
I mean, in the spirit, again, I sound like the broken record of collaboration. I think this is a wonderful, collaborative effort. It is win-win.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the agreement to share road construction costs with the city of Saugatuck for appropriate cost share, a proportionate cost share of 70% Saugatuck City, 30% Saugatuck Township for road construction costs for Bridge Street.
I'll support. Motion by Aldrich, support by Marcy. I'll follow. Call the roll. Aldrich.
Yes.
Marcy.
Yes.
Summer.
Yes.
Bigford. Yes. Israel's.
Yeah.
Great. Proposal for Booster Highway intersection study and master plan. This is something that's been on the agenda for a while.
I think this is very exciting. The last time we approved the RFP, we published it. We did send it to a lot of great engineering firms. I guess on the one hand, unfortunately, we only got one reply back. I did reach out to some of the firms that chose not to submit, and the feedback I got was either they were way too busy, which is a lot of engineering firms right now, and then another firm essentially said that the project wasn't valuable enough for them to bid on, but they wouldn't look at anything under $100,000. So we're kind of in that odd spot, but the good news is that Progressive AE, the firm that we did get a response from, was one of the firms that we were most interested in. They recently completed a project in Plainfield Township called Reimagine Plainfield. And it's kind of similar to us. It's a township. They have a fairly busy corridor that they want to feel more like a downtown. They want it to be more pedestrian friendly. So they've just gone through that process with another community. So what they're proposing to do here is conduct 2 traffic studies for all of the intersections starting at Maple and Bradley north to 64th. One would occur from January to March, and then the second would occur from July to September. So they would get data from the winter and from the summer. From that data, they would develop conceptual plans for each intersection. We would also get to choose 2 intersections that we consider high priority, and they would develop a little more detailed concept. And then they would assist us with grant identification. So they would let us know various grants that we'd be competitive for and help us start that process. So if we wanted to, if we found an intersection in the concept we like, we could start rolling that right into some sort of action. The bid came in at just under $55,000, and we did budget $60,000 for this project. And we're proposing that this project be led by a steering committee. And we can get into that later, but this is essentially the Progressive AE.
And did you say already, the projected end date?
Oh God, it's in numbers.
It's, well, what I'm curious about, because I think it's great, because initially it was not talking, it's definitely doing summer study, which is vitally important.
And that, yeah, I'm sorry.
But wouldn't this be starting this year?
Yeah, they would be starting this January if we went to move forward with it.
Is there concern that the summer portion would be in the middle of the roundabout construction?
There is a little concern. Hopefully, though, I mean, the idea is that the roundabout would be completed before July 4th. And so hopefully it wouldn't interfere terribly with the study of the other intersections. But I think we probably, I think there's enough flexibility that we could work with it. Like they probably wouldn't start the intersection study until the roundabout broke in.
Okay, so they have leeway to go after July 4th.
There's leeway to go after July 4th.
It's not access for a while.
Yeah.
Which could happen.
Yeah, and they are aware of the roundabout project going
Okay.
in. Yeah, so I think that we would play with that. But it's saying in here, and it probably would get pushed out to October, that they would come out with a preliminary and final plan.
Okay, well, no, that'll be helpful to measure the impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there is a public input component to this. So there's a survey, and then there's also an in-person event. They did give us some additional options. I talked to them about them, and they said that we can kind of choose them, as we come up to them. Like we don't have to make a decision now, but if we've gone through this process and we think at the end of it, we really want another public engagement session to show the public what we came up with, they would do that for us. Lene Wells is really big on like pop-up infrastructure, like kind of small changes that are temporary. They kind of give you a sense of what like a permanent infrastructure improvement would look like, how it would affect traffic or pedestrian experience. And so those are some options that they gave us that they could look into that. But that's all kind of like a la carte. And if we got there and we were interested, they would give us a proposal, but we're not committed to that now. But it's kind of an open option.
I think this was very interesting to find out. Several years ago, Daniel, you were on planning, John, you were on planning, and I was on planning. This was one of the top priorities we have in developing teams with safety. And as the team that kind of got into that work came to the conclusion is that it was far beyond our planning commission. And we knew we needed a consultant, we knew we needed the road commission, we needed Brenda, we needed maybe around that. We knew we needed lots of help, but it was still a top priority. So I think to your credit, we're doing it. And I really appreciate that we're doing that community.
And Barky
On the journey. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. Thank you. I would make a motion to approve the agreement with Progressive AE to complete a corridor study and a safe street plan for the Blue Star Highway corridor for a cost of $54,984 contingent on attorney review.
motion by Israel, is there support?
I'll support.
That was.
Oh,
Okay, is there further discussion? I will call the roll. Israel?
Yeah.
Aldrich?
Yeah.
Homer?
yes.
Bigford? Yes. Marcy?
Yes.
It's unanimous. So. Related to item number 6 is item number 7, resolution to establish safe street planning advisory committee. I'd like to hear from Daniel and Brenda regarding this agenda item.
Do you want me to get the ball rolling?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Becky, because I forgot about how we started with planning and like how far we got. And, you know, it's hard, we understand, the challenges, and we also understand it's sometimes challenging to explain to the public that Blue Star Highway is under the jurisdiction of the Allegheny County Road Commission. And so we just can't do whatever we want. And a lot of times, like, if we want an improvement, that the last step's like, well, where's the data to support it? And the way that we got to that proposal was we asked the Allegheny County Road Commission, our engineer, the fire district, to all come into the same room and talk through it and ask them what's the best way forward. And they said, hire a consultant, do the traffic study, come up with the concepts, and then we can talk. And that's exactly what we're doing. And I think even better, you know, we need a steering committee to lead this. And the idea is to bring a steering committee together that is composed of someone from the road commission, someone from fire, our township planner, myself, someone from planning commission, and I think our road liaison to the Allegheny County Road Commission. So it's a really diverse group. It's a group made up of agencies that are not just the township, and they're the people that really can, you know, we really can persuade, and you know, they're the people that can make sure change happens. So this is kind of what's before us, to assemble this steering committee, which we'd assemble as an advisory committee. They would have, you know, a sunset date, but they would help lead this process. They would also identify stakeholders that need to be spoken to. They would help in assisting for the public input, but they would lead and then be able to kind of report back to their different entities. So yeah, that's who we're proposing, but we do think it's important that we have somebody from planning commission themselves sit on the committee. And Brenda, I don't know if you want to take it from here, if you want me to go into a little more.
I'll give it a go, and then if you.
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah.
So Daniel and I, there were 2 people interested, from planning commission, and we did full interviews with them, back to back. And they both were very good, but then shortly there, after we finished them, Dave Eiley just happened to be in the neighborhood and stopped in and we talked to him. So at this point, we did come to a conclusion about one particular. And then I forget where we're going from there, whether Dave, it's coming back to us to appoint, correct? Or Dave's?
I think that we can make the appointment, and
okay.
that we can just kind of, you know, inform the planning commission, like, you know.
Yeah.
Let Dave explain that.
Yeah.
But I think that we would be able to appoint tonight.
So you've had conversations with Dave as chair. We know.
Correct.
His
Yes.
preference
And we know his
and
preference,
his agreement.
and there was consensus.
Yeah, that was.
And both were, you know, both, I think you would agree, Brenda, both
Yeah.
interviewed really well. Brenda had prepared some questions beforehand, and we learned a lot about each of
Yeah,
the planning commissioners.
and they both were extremely enthusiastic,
They were.
very.
And while this may be obvious, you are interested in being the
Yes.
board representative on this. I am.
And I'm glad that you included Dave Eiley in my decision as the planning chair,
Oh,
and also that of civil engineer.
And civil engineer,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a civil engineer, so. I really respect his opinion. So who are you recommending?
We're recommending Denise Webster.
Okay. Andrew.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think we've already gotten someone from fire, correct? In your line?
Chris Mantle is participating from fire, and Craig Atwood is participating from the Allegheny County Road. Which is really good.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just says how far we've come.
Yes, yes.
Years.
So would you like me, oh, should I not make a motion if my name's on it?
Probably,
Probably someone else, yes,
I'll go. On your behalf.
thank you.
All right, I'd like to move to adopt resolution 2023-19, a resolution establishing the Saugatuck Township Blue Star Corridor Safe Street Planning Advisory Committee. And appoint Township Board Member Brenda Marcy and Planning Commission Commissioner Denise Webster as the Board of Trustee and Planning Commission representatives, respectively.
I'll support that.
Motion by Homer, support by Israel. Discussion. Call roll. Homer,
Yes.
Israel,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Thank you. Very good. Board committee, decision. Item number 8, under new business utility advisory. Committee. Go ahead and kick this off, Anna.
As you all are well aware, we're working through an update to the water agreement with the city of Saugatuck, Douglas, and Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority. We've made a lot of progress, but we're at the point where certain things have to be negotiated. And we're going to require at this time some board members to be able to represent the township in those negotiations. So those negotiations would occur between board and council members in other communities. We do have a meeting set up already that's going to be on December 20th. So whoever wants to sit on this committee is going to have to be available December 20th. Yeah, short notice, but we're gonna get a lot of people in the room. So the city, 3 council members from the city of Douglas will be present. We'll have an engineer present, and we'll have our utility consultant present. And this is primarily to talk through water capacity and sewer capacity issues. And we're hoping by having all those experts in the room and having some board members and having commission, council members, that we can make a lot of progress in that meeting. But yeah, there's some things that managers cannot do alone, and this is one of those things. So we're really hoping for great dialogue from peer to peer between board and Douglas Council. So there may be other things that come up, but this is the most immediate. And I think as we work through this agreement, there will be other things that come up, but again, it's part of the process, and I so far it's been very positive, so.
You told me, but I don't see it in your memo, and I can't remember, how many representatives do the cities have?
7. Oh, are you talking just on their utility?
On this advisory?
They have, the city of Douglas has 3. I don't think the city of Saugatuck has appointed anybody yet, but there hasn't yet been a need to sit down with them one-on-one. The real need right now is between, the township and Douglas.
So you're recommending 2, not 3, to be the same as Douglas from the township?
The problem with us is that it's a quorum if it's
Yeah.
3. Where Douglas has 7 members, so they can have up
Right,
to
they have
3.
1 more.
Yeah,
Thanks. And then you're also suggesting that whomever represents the township already states at this point that they would look forward to serving on the Cal Lake Board.
I think that part of the update to the agreement, and this may not be, it's not done yet, but part of it is to suggest that it's a board member or a council member that serves on the Cal Lake Board. Because right now, it's not that case. I don't think that any members who are currently serving on the Cal Lake Authority are council or board members from any community. And the utility consultant said that that is concerning to him, that you really want, at least one of your representatives to be a council or a board member, so that there's more of a connection between what's happening at Cal Lake and what we're talking about at a board level, have that continuity. And right now, it's not as strong as it could be. So, for the township, again, this might not be a change with the water agreement, but this might just be a policy of the township board that you want a board member to sit in that seat. So I think that, not having a board member and not having had a board member be the rep for Cal Lake for a real long time, because before it was, Chris Bernhardy, it was Joe, and before that it was Griffin, and before that it was Aaron Sheridan.
Oh, you missed someone
Oh, maybe it was
who was
now.
really terrific.
No, make it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
His brother,
Yeah.
he moved, and
Yeah.
he was an engineer. I think he was talented.
He was known across the country for his expertise.
Yeah, I heard really great things about him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
he wasn't on long, but it was nice.
So it might be something you think about, like, do you want to say that you want a board member serving Cal Lake? And if that's the case, because it is an idea being floated, whether or not we go with it is a question, but it is an idea that's come up in conversation. So it would be a good idea that whoever wants to serve on this committee also have an interest in possibly serving on the Cal Lake Authority Board.
But that would be a part of what we do tonight.
Correct. Correct. Yes, correct.
So like, is my math right? Is it 2 of the current board that would be eligible?
Yeah.
Our board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking for two members.
We're looking for 2 members
Plus you.
who might be willing to serve on the Cal Lake Board in the future and are available on December 20th.
No, but I meant to serve on the advisory committee. If I'm reading this right, it says they cannot currently serve on a township commission or regional.
I don't think that they cannot. I just think that like it's something like you don't,
Okay, that's,
knowing that you may get sucked into serving on the authority, just to keep that in mind. Not saying you cannot, but
all right.
that's something to think about.
Well, while this is, not something, that's necessarily in my wheelhouse, and I have a great deal to learn, I think that water and sewer and planning for that going forward is very important. And, it really requires a lot of attention, and I'm interested in serving on this, advisory committee, so.
And you meet that
And I
criteria?
don't have
Right.
an obligation.
I will also, if you would want me to serve, I've worked with Daryl a lot in the past, and we have a great relationship, so, I'd be happy to serve on this if you want me.
So it's okay that she's on the fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Just tried to
with Daryl.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to go to all the meetings, believe it or not.
You did?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
not that I want to.
Yeah, but that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're counting on one of you.
Even though you're not regular,
Would you like to serve on this? or-
well, I still want questions.
You
are.
Yeah, I mean,
Too bad.
I think that you both would be wonderful. Right.
Would you like a motion?
Absolutely.
I would love to make a motion to appoint trustee Aldrich and supervisor Bigford to assist township manager DeFranco and legal counsel on negotiating needed utility agreements, including but not limited to capacity purchase agreements and agreements to satisfy EGLE regulatory agreements. All such agreements shall be subject to the review and approval of the full township board.
I support that. Motion by Marcy, support by Gabriel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very restoration. A discussion on some time and hoping that we have the opportunity to move forward on this. Want to go into details on this, Daniel?
I mean, it's essentially the same proposal that you saw last time. We didn't want to move on it because we didn't complete the master planning for Douglas. We still have to get the final cemetery plan for Douglas Cemetery, but it's really kind of just details at this point, and they incorporated this project into the master plan. So I think it'll be a beautification of unused area. It'll be restoration of habitats. There'll be opportunities for walking trails. If we could think of some like interpretive signage in the future, but I think it'll be a very interesting project that kind of fits with, you know, our strategic goals, and I think a lot of the interest of the community.
Anything on that?
Absolutely. I move to approve proposal from the Outdoor Discovery Center to implement a prairie restoration project at Douglas Cemetery for a cost of $30,000.
And support. Motion by Aldrich, support by Marcy. This is a voice vote. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item number 10 has two employment agreements to consider. Electrical inspector and temporary finance position. Daniel, would you go ahead with this, please?
Yeah, so a big thank you to Gordon Fox. He's been our electrical inspector for many years. But he is now at the point of retiring. He does have somebody who is training to follow in his footsteps. That would be Jeff Nybor. Jeff has been currently working with Gord. He's going to continue working with him for this next month. But Gord is hoping that Jeff takes over his, you know, his municipalities. Jeff came in the office. He's younger. He's not to offend Gord by any means.
I graduated with him, so
Okay.
he's really
He's really, no, he's really nice. He's very enthusiastic.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. No, he is.
He's a jovial, fun, nice guy.
Yeah, so I think that, he'll work well. He's working closely with Gord. Sometimes these things happen and it is difficult to find real strong inspectors, building inspectors. But I think that he'll work out and he'll take over. Essentially what we're proposing is a very similar contract to the one that we have with Gord now, but it is $55 an hour or $55 per inspection. And I just have to make a correction on page 2 of the contract for it to read 50, instead of 60, or 55, sorry. Not 60.
Section 5. Yeah.
The written.
Yeah, the written part.
How is gone when it's a photo inspection now? Is that a dumb question? Morgan?
It depends, like if it's just looking at a service panel, it might take a couple minutes. If they're inspecting an entire house, it could take up to an hour. It really
I
is,
just wonder if that rate is competitive when you're thinking about these people that are, it's hard, like we said, we can't find people to, engineers to take on this work. It's really hard to find skilled labor, and if it attractive enough to be. Jeff is a very, thorough,
Yeah.
very, somebody that's gonna do the work, right? He, takes pride in his work. And not just, anyway,
I
that's
love,
competitive.
I don't know offhand for sure, but George's been doing it for us for what, 10, 15, 20 years?
I want to say 20. Yeah. I think he did say.
We had, our inspector, we have,
Right. And maybe it's just like a less heavy lifting, like that you can just go in and, it's kind of an
They know,
easy,
yes, they know.
right? It's an easy job.
I would say I would not be surprised if at some point Jeff came back and requested more money. I mean, that happened last year, if you remember, I think Ford, East Ford did, and I believe Chad Warden asked for an increase in inspection fees.
and Bob,
And Bob Madrusky asked for an increase in.
Bob and Gord are the same.
So they're both 55. So it's possible. I would say that it's not out of the realm of possibility that like next year or the next few months, we got a request. So maybe if that's something you want to think about, you definitely could include that in the motion, but I would say that's a real valid point that could very well happen.
You've answered my question.
Okay.
Mostly it was about how, how much of a time commitment is it?
Well, and we don't pay mileage,
Right.
I noticed, and so, I mean, that is a big consideration.
Well,
For
and to think
professional
that
purposes.
flexibility, you just have people out, are they like, well, you've got to be here in 3 days, or do they have that flexibility in scheduling to say, I'm gonna do all, these 5 inspections, or?
I think they have a lot of.
I think they have a lot of fun.
You have to-
They can tell us when
You have to book it directly.
Morgan would have the most
Oh,
info on this.
Thank you, Morgan.
They set their own schedule. We don't dictate that. We don't schedule any electrical, plumbing, or mechanical inspections. Contractors do that specifically through them. So, Jeff, Mr. Nyborg, he could only do on like Mondays and Wednesdays. Like our building inspector, he only does inspections Mondays and Wednesdays. 'Cause that's what he's available.
Okay.
These
So just,
people are always calling Morgan and saying, when's my electrical inspection? We don't do that. They do it directly with the inspector.
An expectation on, like, okay, we need to get to this within this time frame, right? Is there any type of expectation there?
it really depends. I mean, they could call it in and he's available the next day. They could call it in and he's not available till next week. It also depends on what the inspection is for. Like if he's inspecting it, like doing a rough-in for a new house, that's gonna take, probably an hour.
It sounds like they've been available.
Yeah. I haven't had any complaints.
Worried about someone saying, I can't do it till next month.
I think Gord's been averaging at least 2,000, if not more. No dollars.
Oh,
And typically, we're not the only community that we work.
I should know.
Right.
But I'm closer to 4. It's a good gig.
My only suggestion on this agreement was, that if we say they must have I don't even know about it, they have to have, a copy, and they have to have liability insurance, et cetera, that, I just want to make sure as a township that it's provided to the township. The insurance that we requested. And just for liability reasons, their insurance needs to know that they're operating a vehicle in the performance of work.
Oh, like read that into your notes?
Sure. I would move looking for a contractual agreement with Mr. Jeff Nybor to provide electrical inspection services for Saugatuck Township at a rate of $55 per inspection, and request that Mr. Nybor provide a copy of his insurance as required by the agreement to the township.
Support? I'll support. Motion by Israel, support by Marcy. Discussion? Roll. Israel? Yes. Marcy? Yes. Bigford? Yes. Hummer? Yes. Aldrich? Yes. All right. The second item under employment agreement is the temporary finance position. Yes, go on.
I can introduce it, John. Do you want to introduce it at all, or do you want me to kind of go through it?
I can introduce it, and it's in my report too.
Oh,
just
okay.
to update everyone. Plan, and I think I've done it. So this is because January 1st, I will become just the elected board treasurer. I'll still have lots of statutory duties that I will be fulfilling. So it's kind of, the clock is ticking here on the day-to-day and tax collection stuff. But we actually brought in Jeannie Van Orn. Week and a day.
Second week.
Yeah. Things are week and a day.
Maybe it's a week and a
It's
day,
fun, because there is a lot of training. A lot of training. Brenda can speak to the issue with some of it, Jeannie's getting it more to support the things that we need to do. So again, this is temporary, part-time. He's got a background, strong background in accounting, computer programs, not with BSNA, but we're filling in that gap. So, and then this will lead into the period where we actually post and recruit and interview for a full-time person. Is that enough to say?
I think so.
Yeah, I think most of you have met her. So this, what we're voting on tonight is that she would be here no more than 24 hours a week. There's no benefits attached to this, at a rate of $35 per hour. She also, like Lene, has other clients. Days she can't work, so we worked all that out. So she'll be temporary part-time staff and not benefits. And then let's see. Yeah, so we're voting to consider hiring her for the temporary part-time position at the rate of $35.
I have a question. And how long could she be available? You know, like a month, 2 months, 3 months?
I think longer if necessary. One thing I really like about her is she lives right downtown Saugatuck. I know a lot of her clients. We all do. Store owners, people. So she's very convenient. But we talked today about, perhaps maybe she starts picking up the mail. Because she can walk to the post office. Yeah, so these little things that we have to make sure are in place, or get mailed, or and I haven't yet taken it with me to the bank. We also they know that she with our money. Just believe me, all the bank staff know me extremely well, and I just will do something. But that's the gist. We're full fledged into the transition, and it's great that you've been here already.
John, will you be involved in the interviews for the permanent?
I'm expecting to be.
Okay.
I think that's essential.
Okay.
Do you like a motion? Sure. I will move to approve the job description for temporary part-time finance position and hire Jean Van Order for that position at a rate of $35 per hour, not to exceed 24 hours of work per week.
Motion by Marcy, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Aldrich. Any discussion? Call roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yeah.
Helmut?
Yes.
Israels?
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Carries 5-0. Plus two. Strategic planning, item number 11. We've done a fair amount of this in the past several years, and it just has led us to a more professional way of doing things. I'm excited to start this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, and, you know, I think that our strategic planning has definitely evolved in a good way over the last few years. It definitely helped me starting because I had a blueprint to work off of. And I think that we all did a great job, the last time in kind of coming up with that long-term vision and our core values and our strategic pillars and projects. But I also think that like our existing strategic plan is very capital improvement oriented, which is great. But I do also think that we would value from spending time thinking about the organization itself and thinking about policy. And you know, just kind of taking a different direction. Like we don't always have to do the same thing every time. And then, you know, maybe focusing some time on us. And bringing in a different kind of consultant. I'm thinking, you know, last time we had Jane Clark, who was fabulous. But her work is non-for-profit and economic development, maybe bringing someone with municipal experience specifically. So that's the kind of like general idea. So it's just kind of like presenting this idea that, you know, there's always room for improvement for us. Like, and I've been just thinking about it more and more and coming together and having a collective vision for, you know, what we want the township to be, and then be able to kind of codify that in policy that supports that vision, and then bringing some experts to the table to kind of guide us through that process.
You know, I applaud this.
Yeah.
No, it's good timing, because I had a lot of conversations in the last 2 weeks with Cindy Osmond about this, the aspect that none of us really have detailed how to do my job, how to do Lauren's job. Everyone just kind of does it. And some of it's written down, some of it's on the S drive, a lot of it's
Institutional.
And as Cindy said, if it's the brothers and the baby, once it's strategic, that's strategic. Standard operating procedures.
SOP.
Yeah, SOP, we need them. It's been suggested that we have them to some degree for board trustees and planning deals.
Yeah.
Because we had issues on people coming on the planning commission, okay, you coming on the board. And no one kind of sits them down and say, this, these things you'll be doing. We talk to each other and we grow and pick it up as we go.
Yeah.
So I think this is vital. And we also talk, because I haven't talked with you yet about this, and I'm not sure she had, that it's got to be someone outside.
Oh, yeah.
Like a mini regional version of the McKinsey. Because the people doing all this don't have the time to do, you know. It's one thing to be interviewed and talk to someone.
Yeah.
Like them, and then also someone that has specific municipal background. You know, it's kind of half done in that sense, because they're going to know things that we might not even know ourselves, even if the things we're doing. Oh yeah, that should be spelled out this way. So I think this is extremely, you know, important and a smart way of spending some of our budget.
Yeah, and we have a budget for it.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I know. We're in a very strong position, as we all know. But this isn't frivolous. It's more than essential. Because a lot of the sessions I go to for the MMTA, and it comes up all the time, you know, this notion of, you know, what does the township do if I'm hit by a bus tomorrow? and we probably, depending on who it is, but if I go to another township or city and find the person doing it there and say, can you come tell us what we need to do? Because it's not gonna be codified. So. I love it.
Well said, I can. Anywhere near.
Oh,
I can agree more. We've made so many moves towards just a more professional, best practice. Just look at the ordinance review, you know, that's amazing. This is just another step to having it clearer, more concise, more professional. So I can support it more. Any other comments or-
I have a couple, of course. I really appreciate that we're gonna look at operational procedures as well as the capital, process that we have. And I think that's super important. And I do really agree that we need a municipal, like township strategist. And I think using the ordinance review as an example, bringing in the expert and doing the full look is really, really important. My biggest question, well, just two concerns. I mean, one thing is MTA has some great policies and stuff that are worth reviewing on the website. And you have statutory responsibilities. I have statutory responsibilities. I mean, we take that to heart, I think. And so I just want to, you know, keep kind of a grasp on that. But how do we involve the public? And because we say, well, this is how we want to be. How does the public want us to be? I think that that's kind of important. And is there a way to involve the public too in what they want from us? I mean, because that's a really important piece of strategic planning. Does that make sense?
Maybe not for this process.
Not for operational?
No, the
I
strategic.
feel like they want the end result.
And
They
they
don't, you know, this is us dotting our.
Yeah.
I don't cross
Yes.
our teeth and crossing our fingers. I don't know, that's how but I'll think more on it. And well, when is it a bad idea to get the public involved? I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
When we say what we're trying to move on to what we want the township to be, I think the public knows too what they want the township to be. I mean, that's important. So what do we want to be for the public or the township? Maybe that's all in there generally. So that's all.
Maybe do that after we have the SOPs established.
Yeah.
The public doesn't want to get into
No, they don't.
how an absentee ballot is voted. And it's not, there's not more than one, there's only one way to do it. Again, it's statutory. Whether it's tax collecting or running a board meeting.
That's very true. And
It's good to leave it down.
You
There's
know?
there's been some stuff in the press about elected board people in other townships. And one of the quips made was, well, you know, the voters decide, you know,
Yeah.
that's their job review. And we have
That's
a big
true.
election coming up next year, so.
well, and you know, and I mean, we all know that when we're out in the public, people like to weigh in on different things, and most of them are visionary things. And a lot about parks
Yeah.
and things like that. And so I think road safety,
Right.
all of those things. So, yeah, I think that's very true.
So is this motion here kind of like a first step action?
Kind of, yeah, like it would just, you know, from here, I would go out and probably in consultation with the attorney, identify like a municipal expert and set something up. That's probably what it is, like kind of establishing that, yes, this is the direction that we want to take this strategic planning session. And it's not to say that we couldn't do a follow-up strategic planning session that's more like capital focused and like kind of fine tune that at a later point. But to say like, yeah, we see this as being valuable at this point in time and that you would like me to move forward with kind of putting it together.
Well, I know at the MTA conferences, there are a lot of people who do this too. So would that be a valuable resource too for us? I would consider that.
But this is like a pre-step to potentially at one point doing an RFP for full-fledged.
Right.
Municipal
That
advisor.
person,
I don't know if we have to do an RFP. I think that we just, we get recommendations from like the MTA and from our attorney, because they do know, people out there who do this. And then we kind of just pick somebody who seems to be fitting, who understands, communities like us, has experience working in communities like us, and that would be able to kind of lead us.
would we choose that person? Would that come before us to vet that person, or would we not participate in that?
I would think, I would leave it to Daniel and the attorney, and whoever he works with, choose.
I always say if it's long-term, I think it's gotta be the board.
But it's,
If it's like, that's what I'm trying to delineate. Is this like a first initial session and then we decide and work on
So
whether it's an RFP or not? There's gonna be interested candidate companies, whatever, or individuals.
So I imagine this, I guess, like in kind of the way you're describing it, it's like kind of like, I guess, a first step, like it would be like an all-day session
Right.
with somebody, and they get to hear from all of us, and we kind of figure out like, okay, now, knowing, we're walking us through a process and kind of seeing where we agree, where we need some help. Maybe there's recommendations from there, and then maybe there's more of a long-term component, but
Right.
I don't see,
That's what I'm thinking.
yeah, I don't see this consultant as necessarily like going beyond like a one-day session.
Okay,
initially.
no, that's what I want to clarify.
Yeah,
Because in that case, if we did decide as a board and to budget
yeah.
to go bigger with that,
Mhm.
I think then we probably have to do it.
Oh, if that were the case, if we're like someone.
Because that's not a one-day session.
Yeah, that's not a one-day
That's-
session. Yeah.
People, so in that case, yeah, obviously,
Mhm.
the ball's in your hands for this thing.
But it would
get
be
it
somebody with township experience.
It would be someone with township experience.
That's great.
And what are we thinking about
Yeah. It's hard because people are going away. Because I have Stacy States and Brenda States.
Yeah.
And right now it looks like mid-January is an option, but I don't know where we're headed mid-January. Or it would have to be after February 20th.
Oh, I think that's.
I do too. Well, it would be really nice to have an active election.
Oh, after the 27th?
Oh, right. No, that's a good point. How about early March?
Early March.
Do we need this before John?
I mean, it's a good idea to talk
Well,
about.
I do next week.
Yeah, and not before, but I mean, it's a good,
No, but I
yeah.
mean, that's why I was thinking we needed to move the time. Because you haven't written your bus book. I haven't written, well, we will probably write your bus. But I had one and it was time. So it's funny that's what he called it when I worked. Because
Yeah.
nobody did my job, so.
I do feel like we have a need, like, there have been things that come up, like, we got some pressure from some planning commissioners.
Yeah.
That they're like, they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, like, that's kind of a responsibility of us, we should tell them like what their responsibilities are. Also, there's a lot to this, like, to unpack, because it's, what's the role of a board member? What responsibilities do we have to our appointed officials? What do those, what are the responsibilities of those appointed officials? How do we see them as accountable to the board? How is the board accountable to them? There's just a lot to unpack, so I would recommend that we do it sooner than later.
So can we do it mid-January? Is it anyone away?
January 22nd.
So, okay. I mean, in terms of doing. I'm just saying we can't do it next.
No.
Well, that's before I transition.
No, this is after the holiday.
I'm saying. And it wouldn't have time for a one-day session in January.
Right.
That's a freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you you need to wait until you contact people to even look at things.
Yeah, but if I had a range, I think, like, like it's with mid-January were, like
Yeah.
maybe like the tentative before the 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I will start that process,
Would you say 10 to,
like 10 to the 22nd.
oh, that's the,
Okay, that is not, but I am here all the other.
So the 10th to the 20th.
for the end of the weekend.
Yeah, right. I mean, real down. Well, that's good. I can be more specific than
It's a breath.
that. Okay.
Oh, we need
We're
one.
taking consensus, but we do need.
Right. Oh. I'll put that, I'll move to direct township manager to the township manager to organize a strategic planning session focused on municipal organization goals and responsibilities.
Motion by Marcy for support.
I'll support it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Excellent. Management grant. Okay,
You might remember just a little while ago, the Parks Commission wanted to apply for coastal management grant to support the creation of a land acquisition and conservation program. We were successful in getting that grant. We estimate the project costs $30,000. The grant will cover 50% of that cost, of $15,000. It took a long time to get us our award agreement, but we finally got it. And we published an RFQ, and we're hoping to pick a consultant to build up the plan by Park Commission meeting in early January. So this would be covered by the $15,000 is built into the parks budget, and it will be covered by them. And so this is just to authorize the execution of the agreement.
question. Right, would like to make a motion.
I'll move to authorize the township. I will authorize that the township manager on behalf of the Saugatuck Township board executes the Michigan Coastal Management Program Grant Agreement in the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy and Saugatuck Township.
Is there support?
Or
Motion by Israel, support by Aldrich. Further discussion? Voice vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimous. 5-0. You just gonna- No, I'll practice that one in front of you.
163.
Maybe. Is this the one that was the road work?
There is an update to this. It's kind of a good update. We
Yeah.
were looking at
There's little stickers.
yeah, there was a potential $509,000 project that we were anticipating this year, but we don't have to do it this year. Our engineer decided that it's fine to do it in 2025. So we dodged the bullet there. The projects are pretty much how we anticipated them to be. There will be an amendment coming because we did approve the work on Lakeshore Drive between 126 and the washout. That's a $200,000 project. No problem with coming less than that, but the road commission is, putting a higher bid. So there's that, and then we had the $30,000 Bridge Street contribution, but this is to put in our work order so that the Allegheny Road Commission can begin to prepare and bid out these projects. The one project I will call your attention to, which a resident called attention to in public comment, and that is going to be a road widening and millings improvement for Riverside Drive and Dugout Road. This came before the board a few years ago. And it was decided that it was not the right time to do that road improvement. The reason it's coming back up is because we are moving forward with a water main replacement project on Riverside Drive and Dugout Road. And there will be some disturbance to that road. There will be some tree removal. But I think that it was always floated by the township that we want to pair those two projects, so we're not disrupting that neighborhood two distinct times. The first time this came around, there was a lot of public comments wanting to protect the trees on that road. I've worked pretty closely with every property owner on that street, and I think that the mood on the street has changed. We got a lot of intense, public comments, emails, phone calls this summer about the condition of the road. A lot of people think it's unsafe. They're concerned about the constant dust. I anticipate those concerns to continue. So this is kind of an opportunity to say to the road commission, yes, we want you to plan for a widening of the road and a milling improvement, knowing that it's essentially the same project as was considered before. There will be somewhat less trees removed only because those other trees will be removed in the installation of the new water. But, you know, it does come with I think it's approximately 100 trees have to be taken down. But after the water main goes in and the road is improved, we won't have to worry about dust control. We won't have to worry about messing with that street again for a long time. Just keeping up on basic maintenance. But I did want to alert you that we're at that point where we need to let the road commission know whether or not we want them to pursue this project or we don't want them to pursue this project.
Originally, when we had this discussion, wasn't there a lot more trees they were talking about removing, like 300? I think
It did reduce it, yeah.
So there were two options, yeah, and I think that, yeah, so the option for pavement would require a lot more trees to come down. So this is a milling option, so it's definitely a compromise. So it's not a fully paved road, but it's a vast improvement, and yeah, it cuts down the number of trees that need to be removed by about 2/3.
Does it cut down the dust? too?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because that, you know, we had some very strong and opinionated discussion with the road. They were on the monitor when it was the road commission. Because I think at that point, they wouldn't even know it. And that's what we were, some of us were upset about with the number of trees and a lot of the residents too. So this is, I hope, another example of a nice compromise.
No, yeah, because we have to do.
I know. Now, when we hear more and more neighbors are there full time now. You happen to recall, it's not, it's related.
Yeah.
Because it took a while. It took several months, I believe, to get a majority of the homeowners to buy into the special assessment district that will go on their bills tax year 2024. Do you remember the final tally or I'm just curious. I don't know how many homes are out there.
So it was 61% of the road wanted to participate in the water main improvements.
Okay.
And some of those participants have said that their participation is contingent upon the road improvement project.
Some of the 61.
Some of the 61. Yeah. So there's been, it's very interesting because there's some people who feel very passionately about not removing any trees, and then it moves off the chain for some people feel like they don't live on a safe road, that it's not, the word is not hygienic. That's not the word I'm looking for, but that it's kind of like a health hazard all it does. So, and there's a wide age range on that road, it's concerns, can an ambulance get down there, can fire trucks get down there?
Well, we tested the fire.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we rode it.
Oh, that's.
Well, we were really concerned.
And I'm sure it's tighter now,
Right.
everything's been wrong.
Yeah. I'm just thrilled that it's milling.
It's millings, it's not a paved, so it's not gonna be like a 55-mile-an-hour standard.
No.
Excuse me, will there be time for another public comment on this at the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, great.
Well, and you mentioned also that there is like a park area on one side, is that
So the
correct?
west side
So
of
that
the,
would be all natural too.
yeah. They call it the McEnroe Conservation Easement.
Okay.
Or Pine Trail on that side, or is it at the end?
It's on the other side of the road from Pine Trail. So,
Oh.
so there's actually, so if you're on, let's say you're on Clearbrook,
Yeah.
headed towards the city of Saugatuck, and you hit Holland, there's that historic house that they recently fixed up. So the McEnroe easement is that house all the way down 66, all the way to the river, so, and it includes that pond area.
And didn't he purchased all that?
An individual purchased it.
I mean, the Scott Waring.
Well, yes,
Who always go home.
yeah, Scott Waring purchased it. But it's permanently in a conservation easement. And we will have to work with the conservation easement, to complete this
Right.
project, and we have been working with them.
Because a lot of it does, so it butts the road.
Yeah.
Okay,
Potentially.
so that will be preserved.
Yeah, that's not.
And the water should run a lot better, right? Is it, you know, I mean,
A lot better.
Yeah, I know that's been.
I'm sorry.
With the infrastructure.
Right, like it could fail at any time, right? I mean, it's that.
It could fail at any time, and the concern is that it's not just going to compromise the water quality of the people on the public water, but pond water could get into the water system itself and cause millions of dollars in damage. So like, it really is a priority project, because it not just threatens that street, it threatens the water system in the township and in the city of Saugatuck.
Okay.
So, you know, we want to get the water line, because it's just a water line out from under the pond, and we want to install a standard 8-inch water main.
Because some people said they actually had sand in their faucet when they turn on their faucet, didn't they? I mean, I remember.
Some have dripping.
I think that was when the mining was going on and they had well
All
water.
right, so that's not an issue as like it was.
I haven't heard that recently, so I would say it probably since the mining stopped, it hasn't been an issue, but it could very well be the case that the water line breaks, pond water gets in and really causes damage to the system. It's like a kind of like a Flint thing when they put river water through their pipes.
And maybe, I mean, I'm sure we probably are not gonna know the exact number, but maybe we could get a closer estimate of how many trees.
I could get
And
that.
how much it differs from when we started, because it was a lot.
I know it was.
300 or 400 at the beginning, and then I think they cut it down.
They've always had maps that actually show which streets.
Yes,
So
yeah,
they
but
must-
the millage.
They must
makes
have a
huge-
revised.
Yeah, this makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a huge road. We're able to keep the size of the road down because it's millings and not pavement.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't say it.
You want a motion?
Yeah, we could.
I move to approve proposed 2024 roadwork projects as presented, is that a motion?
Mhm.
Okay.
Motion for, yeah.
Motion by Aldrich, support by Israel, for this question. And I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Israel.
Yes.
Marcy. Yes. Bickford, yes. Comrade.
Yes.
Okay, great. 0. Item number 14, C2AE, general service excellence.
We're gonna make it short and sweet. There's some projects that we need to complete with the bike trail for the northern section of the bike trail that are outside the scope of this project. Specifically, we're working with a property owner to relocate their driveway, which is currently located off of a private township road. Right now, we're estimating that project about $30,000. The one specialty project that I'm seeing right now, there's another project that could potentially come online, but it may not. But for handling those specialty projects as they come about, C2A is requesting that we have a separate professional service agreement with them. But right now, that's the one project that I know that we're gonna need their help with, and it's outside of the original scope of the project. So the other one is the rest area, the potential rest area off of the bike trail. But we could always ask Meredith for help in that. So it could go to C2E, we might decide that Meredith is better at handling that, but right now, I think the one clear extra project is relocating that driveway. And I think it's a huge benefit to the project.
And the homeowners, in agreement with this.
Oh, I just sent them.
I'll find it.
Yeah, I sent them an updated rendering and they love it and they want to know the next step, so it was
So what would the timing?
2025 spring.
Okay. So at this point, there's no fiscal involvement from us to engage them, or would there be?
Right, yeah, you're right, right now, there's no fiscal
Right.
requirement. Yeah, you're right, yeah, you're absolutely right, there's no fiscal requirement at this point, yeah,
Next budget.
next budget.
And then you did make reference to what you thought that would be, right?
30,000.
30.
Yeah, but I'm pretty confident that it will come in under 30,000. But not so. There might be some like pre-engineering costs, but not, they would be, significant. Like that, they're not compared to the 30.
Right, no, that's good.
Stacy, thank you, I understand you worked on this.
Yeah, I did, it's rewarding to see somebody go from very upset to very happy. So it's what we strive for. At least that's what my goal is, to be on this board, is to make our residents happy and comfortable, and we try our hardest, and I know we all feel the same way, and it's nice when we can accomplish that.
Oh, would you like to make a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. Move to approve general engineering and architectural services agreement with C2AE pending attorney review.
I'll support.
Motion by Aldrich. Roll call, vote. Aldrich,
Yes.
Comrade.
Yes.
Bickford, yes. Israel.
Yes.
Marcy.
Yes.
7, 5. Okay, so these last two items are both easy peasy, just housekeeping. Item number 15 is the board regular meeting schedule. Looks like it's just continuing with the same program that we are.
Correct. Yeah, nothing crazy, second Wednesday.
Yeah. Is there any suggestions? Questions? No? Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
I'll move to adopt resolution 2023-19, a resolution to set the 2024 regular meeting schedule of the Saugatuck Township Board and determine that regular meetings for the year 2024 will be held on the second Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock.
For support?
I'll support.
Motion by Marcy, support by Aldrich. For the discussion. The roll, Marcy?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Comrade?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes.
Bickford, yes. 5-0. Again, poverty exemption resolution is something that we have to do every year. It's very straightforward.
There's not a motion on the memo, but there is a motion on the.
Sure, okay.
Well, I would like to move to adopt resolution 2023-20, a resolution to establish guidelines for determination of poverty exemptions to be implemented by the Saugatuck Township Board.
I'll support.
Motion by Hummer, support by Marcy. Further discussion. Hummer?
Yes.
Marcy? Yes. Bickford? Yes. Aldrich?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes. Can you leave that up there for just a minute? I have to copy it.
I can send it to you.
Would you mind?
No, that will be great.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There is no old business. That brings us to
report section. John, would you go ahead and give us?
Sure.
a treasurer
This is
report?
our report for December 13th, 2023. So our general fund bank balance on December 1st was at $629,000. You might note that that's down about $240,000 from November. We had some significantly large payments due to both Carbon 6 and the Allegan County Road Commission that had kind of accrued and not been paid another. So this will top up. So anyway, my plan now is to top up the general fund account with one of our got a check today. One of our maturing CDs matured earlier this week. So we got a 600 and it made what, 650,000. What am I saying? It's late. $260,000. Initially, the CD investment was $250,000. That's going to go into the general fund and stay there. We had no departmental spending overages. Revenues across the board were 16% below budgeted amount, and that will change pretty soon because township tax revenues begin to come in December 1st, and that includes, as I mentioned earlier, the new parks, trails, millage, and then all of our other millages, roads, cemetery, general, we collect this tax season. On the expense side, though, we're still running below budget there on expenses, so 11% below what we had budgeted for. As you know, the tax year started December 1st, bills are out, payments are pouring in. Just quickly, next month will be the detailed investment report with the data on the slide. But we, as I mentioned, our total value December 21st top. This is an estimate, but it went up, I think, by about $113,000. Not all the reports come in before our board meeting, and we're moving some things. Well, as I said, we have 3 CDs maturing in December and January. One we've already received the cash, and we are then going to open in more detail next month. We're doing 2 things with Huntington Bank: a Cedars account and an insured cash sweep account. These are both accounts that allow Huntington County to work with the broker, so you can have more than one, or you can have CDs with different banks, and you've got the full FDIC insurance.
Right.
Not considered one through Huntington. And then the insured cash sweep. Abby and I met with representatives from Huntington over the summer. It's sort of a new product. This was new to us, but one thing we like about it, it's an investment through Huntington. It's fully liquid, just like my class. So we can pull the money back if we were in need. So we'll have more information on how that plays out next month. Yeah, I already said that about the general account. Disbursements, just to remind you, because I have to do this. In our consent agenda, there were the last 2 summer tax disbursements. They were pretty small, $22,000 and $116,000 has been paid. And this Friday, we'll be starting the process. I'll be working with Jeannie to teacher disbursements, because we'll have 2 new winter disbursements due in the month. Transition plan, I think I've already covered this. January 1 is the big change. What's going on Social Security. We're drawing on some of our IRAs and just receiving, but yeah, and giving up the date. But I'm not done. I've told Jeannie, I've told Daniel, live around the corner. Expect to come. If I have to do too much in the office extra, I think we should I'll get compensated on an hourly basis for that. But we're trying to bring that. And again, we're working on a job description for a full-time person. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
PC next?
Yeah.
No? All right, boy. So last PC meeting was here in this room on November 21st. We held a public open house relative to the ordinance review, where consultant Dave Jurassic gave a presentation, an overview on what the thinking overall and the plan and the process has entailed. There were about 25, maybe even 30 people attended. We were pleased with that. Many spoke, many different things. Some of the main issues I felt that were mentioned by the public, ADU placements, how many zones they're allowed in, accessory dwelling units. Lots of discussion on if this changes to minimum lot sizes, both commercially and residentially. parcel frontage issues, parking issues was dramatically discussed, at least by certain people.
Yeah.
Of the public. And that ran for 90 minutes, but I think it was a really good exercise. The Planning Commission sat in the audience, Dave and Lynette. So then we had the formal PC meeting. Public comment there, 3 residents spoke on, this was interesting. And I don't know if people struck. The way it's structured right now, the first Planning Commission comment session has to only be on the agenda. And then the one at the end is all anything. The suggestion was, shouldn't it be the other way around? Because you can still do agenda items in first. And I don't think we make that distinction at the board. Do
No, we don't.
So maybe they should just not make the distinction.
You don't have to.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good point. Let's see, and then we talk about, certain rezoning potential issues on certain property. So then we just continued discussing it, the planning commission, and again, ADUs is a big question. Minimum square footage of lots that have municipal water and sewer versus those that don't. Frontage requirements again. So our goal is, there's still a lot of loose ends, and I have to commend Cindy has been doing every time there's a meeting, she just goes through that. And I've sat with her a lot, we've done a lot of this together, but then she goes off and redlines and gets it to Dave, gets it to Renee. And every day there's comments coming in that could potentially change it. So the goal is next Tuesday night is our regular planning commission meeting. And we have said that we will be done making changes. So if there's an issue, because there are some areas where certain planning commissioners, they don't give in when a majority seem to want to do X or Y. Doesn't matter what it is. Tuesday night is going to be just anything that's not unanimous, we're going to vote right. We have to move forward. And there's starting to be some public dissent too on the time. So that's Tuesday, December 19th at 6, which would mean then this January planning commission meeting would be the public hearing, formal public hearing on a proposed final draft of the new zoning ordinance, with the hope then to send it to us at the board in February. So lots of homework and reading to do. But I think, and Lene's already started doing this, there's going to be like a highlight. So we don't expect everyone to read every word, but what are the biggest changes? What did we decide? What's different than we have definitely lowered the minimum house size, square footage. So those things the big headlines I'll be like, but hopefully you'll be looking for charts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I think it's important to note too, that, you've done a ton of work with all these ordinances. But it's not always like they can't be changed. You can make modifications for the rest of your life. So that's really important to know.
No, I'm glad you said that because Cindy has a colorful way of saying, she keeps saying, we just got to pull up the day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with the budget.
It's like with everything.
A month later, we could have a hearing and discussion to change one specific word.
Sure.
It's not done for that.
Right.
So, that's well, you were very involved. That's what the Franco. Steering.
Almost there. Almost.
All business.
Okay, I'm gonna go off script because I think I saw this. Some of you know, I think all of you know this. I'm not sure that Dana Bird, our township engineer, has taken a job in South Haven as the director of public works. And we're very happy for him. He's very happy. I think he'll be fantastic. He served us so well. But it is very bittersweet to see him go. He'll still be living in the township. He'll still be in the Parks Commission, but I just wanted you all to know that he was very sad about leaving us. It's a very bittersweet thing for him, but I think he'll be great. And, looking forward to, connecting with him on a professional level. The second item, I kind of feel like I owe you a bit of an explanation, and there's never, I think it's not really a good time to explain this, but as you know, we applied for the trust fund grant again. And Ken and I went to the trust fund board meeting today. And I think from this whole experience, you know, I learned a valuable lesson that you don't always win. We didn't get it the last time, and you know, a lot of effort went into reapplying, and you all put your faith in me and in the Parks Commission and in the bike trail group, and you had the faith that, you know, we could get it, and I felt very confident that we could. And we put a lot of effort into the reapplication. We did that ecological evaluation of Avalanche Park. We did that whole rest stop area design with Beardus. We really poured over any way we could get more points, and we did. We got 15 more points in the process, so I think that was a huge win. Ken was so generous to drive with me to Lansing today. He drove, and we sat through the entire meeting, and we made public comments, and I think our comments were well received. But they did announce how much money they had, and they put a cutoff number, and that cutoff number was 350, and our score was 335. I would say that we learned another valuable lesson, which is don't give up and keep going, because the board can pull up a project, and first project they decide to pull up the Saugatuck Township. We got the funding, $3,000. We got the funding grant.
Yeah, that was me. No, that was.
But we did it. Yeah, we did get it. We did get it.
One was there. Yeah, we're. Oh.
Wow.
All right. But we didn't get it. They cut it off at 350, and they had an opportunity to pick a project they really liked. And they really liked Ken's comments. They rang true to him, and they told our project.
The wild card fit.
Yeah, we were the wild card.
Wow.
That's great.
I still can't believe how you handled it. Both of you, because you're sitting there, it looks like he's crying. Why the long face?
So here's support Daniel on the effort you made today. It looks sad.
Just. Aw. Oh my gosh.
Well,
And you guys been hurt.
Yeah.
So, no prep prior.
Yeah, we did no prep prior.
We did the other
They want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
So the other thing that,
Well,
we
you
both write
already have
speeches
to
the
when you
same way.
have a car.
While other people were talking, we're both writing notes about where we're gonna go. We did discuss it. And his advice to me is go with what you know. So my story was, I lived on the east side on a road very similar to Blue Star that connected New Baltimore to Algonac. And one time on one of my rides on the way back, I got hit by a Pontiac Grand Prix. And I told them that the problem that we have is you approved the city of Saugatuck last year, and you have the Harvest Ride that uses this area. You've got the Holland 100 that comes through here, and then we're going to invite all these people to come up here, and they're going to be using the Blue Star Trail that you've approved through Saugatuck, and then you're going to dump them on Blue Star, and that's the type of road where I could have died. And I had no way of knowing that that was a winner, but it's what I had. I mean, Daniel did a nice logical presentation. I went emotional and safety, and when the chair said, I'd like to pull up the first, there were 32 projects approved out of 99.
Oh, wow.
And 3 were picked up. We were the first one.
Yeah, we pretty good. I do.
Who's the chair now?
Oh, there's a new chair
They don't stay long.
No, but they were so nice after we had it to thank them and everything. It was.
So it sounds like you pulled that pair of hearts too, and brain.
You snatched victory from the jaws of defeat.
Right.
It looked like we were going.
Yeah.
Admirable.
we jumped past 10 communities.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Great.
Wow.
What's the dollar amount now?
$300,000.
It's funny, it's like 300 and 350 points. It's so close.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I'll be sharing this with you.
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And
Yeah.
Dana was the one who said, go, make sure you go. And I asked, I want to bash C2AP, but they were like, I don't know if it matters.
It matters.
And
yeah.
Ken was like, I'm gonna go with you. And we did, and it worked.
I can't believe you went there and back today.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow, that's fun.
At this point, I'm getting a little bit scared.
You know, I feel like you guys are.
You can take a
fine
break.
with it. Come on,
Take a
right?
break. Yeah. Oh,
That is wonderful.
But that's my report.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, way to end the meeting.
well, there is open.
Verbiage, just a couple line verbiage on that.
You had
so I can
something
put that in my,
Oh, yeah,
then I will go on the paper.
Yeah, comment too. Everyone.
Yeah, you. Oh, yeah.
Wait, we haven't.
No, I
open
didn't
board?
end that. I didn't end the meeting. I'm not like this. Post. I
We have a lot
wasn't.
of-
Yeah. Oh, yes, open board report. Let's start with Stacy.
I have a couple of things I wanted to bring up. I was talking to a Douglas city council member the other day, and they have a code enforcement person. He's got a thing on his car that, you know, identifies where he at, and if like somebody who says their leaves are in the road and they shouldn't be, this guy goes over there, I think he's paying by the call. And I was going to suggest maybe we talk to Douglas and see how much that costs and maybe look at, for us. Maybe that's something we can do. And maybe this guy can, you know, take on another client if we're interested. And I also want to wish John, you know, when you came on board here, when we were 2018, I mean, we were scrambling and you were the force that kept us going, I really felt. And the work you did on the budget and the leadership you provided to all of us and your expertise, it just really got us through a tough period. And I just appreciate you being you. And
You're
I'm
making me
sure
cry.
that well, I'm so happy you're still gonna be, you can do more for us now. Yes, just a
Yes.
board member. But it's just, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for helping.
Wow, it was tough, but we got through it and we became so close.
Yeah, the first few months were.
It was really rough, so, I just thought you were the driving force and the cheerleader for us, so thank you. And I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Yeah. Thank you.
And maybe we could do some hiking and things.
I know.
There
Go
you
on some of those trips with you.
There you go.
Wow, thanks.
Well, ditto to what she said, and aside from that, I've got nothing. I'm so thrilled. I don't think I'll sell my bike.
Oh.
Well, you know what it's like, the only way out is Allegan Road or, 63rd, and that's not gonna change that, but my hope for the long future is something our way, but it's just too good. It's great news. Can't talk. I can't top any of this, but, you know, I would like to say too, thank you for your friendship. I think people thought we started off like this, but we quickly got to be like this. And, I've always appreciated and admired you, so thank you, John.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. You.
I'll say something.
Yeah.
Send money.
Send money.
You have something else? I feel bad now because I do have one item.
Okay.
No, it's not, and I could have done it, what's kind of, anyway, this month, was it Monday, I guess? The Army Corps of Engineers, you know, still has not ruled on permitting the marina. And every so often they do these, consulting party, WebEx. We haven't had one. The last one was canceled at the request of the tribal groups. So the last time this was done with everyone together electronically it was still during COVID. So it's been a while. And there's not a lot of new update. I've told you this, but what I found, because we're the representatives of the town. You were probably in Lansing, but I mean, you couldn't be there, so. And it went an hour and a half. It was mostly the tribal groups talking more, but then also the State Historic Preservation Office, state agency, National Trust for Historic Preservation. This time around, the applicant, the developer, didn't want to be there and has actually said to the Army Corps that they didn't think they should be a consulting party. And then the Army Corps said, well, you are. You don't have to come to the meetings, but you are a consulting party. Anyway, so that was interesting. It's not. And there were questions asked because there's a lot of new people involved. The key person from Army Corps out of Detroit, the woman that had been involved for like the last 7 or 8 years, really knew this issue. Well, she's on maternity. And the new woman, they don't know the history. Which was interesting, but they learned because they asked questions. Coastal Alliance was there, involved, but things like, this isn't a new issue. It goes back to 2007. And then the current application was made in 2017. That's still a long time ago for some of these people. So that I found that interesting.
Can I just ask a point of clarification? You said approving the marina, but they're really approving standing.
No. This is Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh,
This is permitting a marina.
okay.
Yeah. And they
And they don't have to wait on the other.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
that's a legal, this is
Right.
permitting.
Yeah.
Just like Eagle has.
Right.
Eagle had approved it and then said it expired.
Right.
So,
Correct. Okay.
but to your point, I mean, this is probably gonna go on for a while.
I think so.
And it could be a case where the applicant has to come back to us.
Yeah.
Again, or the planning commission again, we just don't know.
Yeah.
But Army Corps of Engineers has really been thoughtful and methodical. And it was fascinating. It's always interesting to hear what the tribal groups have to say, but then also the preservation and
Right. Right.
that's kind of just, that was it. There'll be another one sometime.
Yeah.
All right, well, that brings us to public comment. Ms. Scott is still with us?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
No.
that's a different. John, did you want to speak?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, John Dorr, 3468 Riverside Drive. And I would just like to echo Scott Stern's concerns at the beginning of the meeting regarding the milling of Riverside dugout and the impact on the trees and the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Part of the road commission's concerns with the width of the road had to do with getting water tanker fire trucks in and out of the road. The new water line minimizes that need due to fire hydrants being installed. So I would hope that the impact of going forward with the new water line is taken into account as it relates to the widening and milling of Riverside dugout. And obviously that's someone who has a well, because I couldn't tap into the line when I tried to. So, I guess we're going forward with that, but I would hope that trade-off is also is not as much, tree destruction and widening of the road as was originally contemplated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else participating in the Zoom?
Anyone else want to talk? No.
Just Merry Christmas to everyone.
So what are we doing that drink?
It's too late now.
I think you said after the planning commission, that's gonna go to midnight.
Well, Mr. DeFranco and I have promised each other a night out.
Yes.
Just the two.
Well, we will allow anybody who wants to buy a drink.
You better pick a date soon.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:39 p.m. Thank you.